Michael Steele filled in for Chris Hayes on Chris Hayes' MSNBC show called All In with Chris Hayes last Thursday. Michael Steele has been in politics and on the media for my entire adult life. I kind of used to like him early on, but at some point he changed or finally showed his true colors. Michael Steele is a RINO, which most of you know stands for Republican in name only. He gets paid to be a RINO on the fake news. I don't think he was ever a real Republican. He was just a liberal in the Republican Party trying to change the GOP into something that it never was. Michael Steele and his RINO and Democrat guests talked about Donald Trump and Republicans for the entire 1 hour long show. He began his fake news show with a photo of Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. Laura was standing at a podium speaking, and below her, in huge letters on the screen, it said, Republican in name only. Michael Steele, the RINO, was hosting a show on MSNBC calling Donald Trump's daughter-in-law a RINO. His viewers must be so ignorant to believe that. Michael said, Donald Trump is rebranding the Republican National Committee much like his failed Atlantic City casino. Steele said, after forcing Ronna McDaniel out as RNC chair, Trump endorsed his own daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. He said McDaniel bent over backwards to appease Trump. But that's not true. Ronna McDaniel is the niece of RINO Mitt Romney. When she took office, I had no choice but to give her the benefit of the doubt, and she failed time and time again. It was clear early on that Ronna Romney was a deep state RINO. She did not have the grand old party's best interests in mind. She did not care one bit about the Republican Party's conservative, libertarian, and constitutional voters. I was actually going to stop voting Republican completely until Donald Trump got on the scene, and I know that I was not alone. It took me a while to warm up to Donald Trump. I never watched one of his reality shows, and I knew nothing about him. Michael Steele said, the GOP is making an atrocious investment, and that Donald Trump's rise led to a diminished Republican Party electorally, financially, and infidelity to conservative values. But once again, that is not true. When you honestly look at everything that happened to Donald Trump and all of the forces fighting against him, and also when you see all of the non-white people he brought into the Republican Party, he brought more non-white people into the Republican Party than any other Republican president. Michael Steele talked about Donald Trump and the Republican Party and MAGA for the entire show. He spent the last 10 minutes calling Fox News racist with a Media Matters stooge, but that segment was still all about Trump and Republican voters. Steele said, Donald Trump has led the Republican Party on an embarrassing losing streak as he showed an Axios headline that read, the GOP's epic losing streak. But we all know Democrats cheat and rig elections with illegal aliens who don't know jack shit about our political system and who vote for Democrats to give them money and free stuff. RINO Michael Steele said Donald Trump is the ultimate RINO. He continued, yeah, that's right. He's a RINO. Let's watch.
All in on this capitulation to Trump, the party of fiscal responsibility.
RINO Michael Steele is hosting Chris Hayes' show, and he's calling Laura Trump a Republican in name only. You're a RINO, Michael. Fake news.
Is making an atrocious investment. Trump's rise has led to a diminished Republican Party, electorally, financially, and infidelity to conservative values. Trump has led the Republican...
Donald Trump is getting rid of the RINOs and the Democrats who fund the GOP.
Party on an embarrassing losing streak. Despite promises the GOP would, quote, get tired of winning. A few things to keep in mind. The party is losing money, ending last year with its lowest fundraising totals in a decade. Laura Trump has not ruled out paying her father-in-law's mounting legal bills. Donald Trump is the ultimate RINO. Yeah, that's right. He's a RINO. Republican in name only. Because it's
fake news. Make America great again. Next, Michael Steele, the RINO, who makes money being a RINO on the news, brought on a lying Democrat reporter from the Wall Street Journal and a Democrat writer from The Atlantic. He called them both independent journalists as they smiled about it, but they were clearly biased Democrat activist journalists. He also brought on a RINO Republican strategist who thinks she knows best and that she knows everything, named Lucy Caldwell. She sounded like a hater. Let's listen to her for 1 minute. Listen to this RINO strategist on the fake news.
Slightly more serious person in Michael Whatley, who's the chair of the North Carolina Republican Party, who is Trump's pick for chair. But Laura Trump should be nowhere near the co-chairship of the RNC. And I never thought I would say this, but I think her talents would actually be better spent recording covers of Tom Petty songs, and she's not very good at that either.
Well, there is that.
You.
Sabrina, I think there are a couple of interesting points
RINOs.
here, particularly around the money piece.
Then, after that, he went to Sabrina Siddiqui, who pretends to be an independent journalist for the Wall Street Journal. She thinks she knows why Republicans don't want to write large checks to the RNC, and that's because they don't want their money going to Donald Trump. No way, Sabrina. Maybe the RINO Republicans and Democrats who donate to the GOP to get people elected like George W. Bush don't want their money going to Donald Trump, but the majority of Republican voters do. We aren't writing large checks to the GOP because Donald Trump won in 2020, but the GOP did not fight for him, and they did not expose election fraud. The RNC, GOP, and Republican Party as a whole do not stand for honest elections, and their leaders at the top are illegitimate, like Mitch McConnell. That is why we no longer write large checks to the RNC. But she wouldn't know that because Sabrina is a fake news reporter who repeats Democrat propaganda, narratives, and lies. Let's listen to one-minute clip of her proving my point. Listen to this fake news reporter on MSNBC.
It's soon to be outgoing leadership. I mean, Ronna McDaniel really took every possible step to appease former President Trump, now candidate Trump. It was just that, she went on with holding the debates.
No.
That was one of the sort of, and didn't maybe do enough in his eyes to go after what he said was election fraud, and we all know was actually a lie, and a free and fair election. So I don't.
You have to be an ignorant moron or a liar to think that 2020 was a free and fair election. Democrats cheated so much in every single state. You're fake news. The Wall Street Journal should fire this fake news reporter for stating such an obvious lie on the fake news. When journalists lie and repeat propaganda, they should be fired. But the Wall Street Journal won't do that because they are fake news. The huge headline on the bottom of the screen was, Trump fanatics descend on right-wing conference. Steele said, back in the day, he and Lucy could walk those halls at CPAC when Republicans were talking about Reagan or Bush policies. But that's not what we hear today, he said. Michael asked, what does that say about the conservative movement, if there is such a thing anymore? These four Democrat voters and RINOs talked about CPAC for several more minutes while all shaking their heads in agreement with each other. The four lefties were so upset that CPAC no longer wants them at their conference so they can misreport and slander Republicans while trying to define the Republican Party. So far, all they've talked about on this fake news show is Donald Trump, MAGA, and Republicans. Sabrina Siddiqui said, the fringe of the Republican Party has become the mainstream. But once again, she just repeats Democrat propaganda. The mainstream of the Republican Party has always been pro-America, pro-secure borders, pro-capitalism, and pro-U.S. Constitution. But we've been censored, banned, and slandered by the media and the corrupt system. The fake news reporter from The Atlantic called Donald Trump supporters a Trump cult. He said non-Trumpites are pretty defeated. After 13 minutes and 36 seconds, Michael Steele went to his first commercial break, and they were going to talk about the GOP informant who supposedly lied to officials when they got back. I saw one Plan B commercial in this first break. When they returned from their 4.5-minute commercial break, they talked about how the GOP informant was taken back into custody. All four of these raging lefties tried to make it sound like the GOP's informant being taken back into custody was so embarrassing to the GOP and that Joe Biden should not be impeached because of it. Michael Steele brought on an ex-Republican to talk about how Republicans running for office in swing districts should deal with this news. Let's listen to a 1-minute clip of the ex-Republican. Listen to this ex-Republican.
Michael, it's good to be with you. And this is definitely a problem. When you think about why Joe Biden won the 2020 election, one of the big reasons is that swing voters in swing states all over the country decided that they had had enough of Donald Trump's scandals and controversies and all the chaos. So they chose Joe Biden because they wanted more normalcy. They wanted more stability in government. Now what congressional Republicans are trying to do is they're trying to tell those swing voters, look, there isn't really a difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. They both have scandals. They both have controversies. And while Democrats do have more challenges this time around because of the president's son, certainly there's a big difference between anything President Biden has allegedly done and, of course, everything Donald Trump has done. Most prominent of his sins is January 6th. So this really puts a dent, a big dent, in not just
lies like this is why people get paid on the fake news. Joe Biden has been in office for almost 50 years and he's lied and committed crimes the entire time. The people on MSNBC want the GOP to let this informant story go because the informant is probably lying, they said. The ex-Republican said, Republicans in swing districts want to distance themselves from this informant investigation. We all know how criminal the Democrat Party RINOs and those who work in the media and in the federal government are. So I say, do not let this story go because there is a good chance he didn't lie and is getting his life threatened. It also could have been staged by the RINOs and Democrats for this very news that we talk about right now. But even if he did lie and the GOP got fooled, so what? People make mistakes. Seek the truth. There is still 50 years of crimes to impeach Joe Biden for, including for stealing the 2020 elections from us, not securing our borders, and letting our country be invaded by criminals while Americans get killed, raped, and robbed every day because of it. After talking about the GOP's informant and Republican Party for the entire segment, they went to another 4.5-minute commercial break. And guess what? I saw another Plan B commercial. When Michael Steele's fake news show returned, they talked about Republicans again. The huge headline at the bottom of the screen was, Inside the House, Republican Infighting. They showed another headline that said, Trump allies prepare to infuse Christian nationalism in second administration. Then Steele brought on a liberal journalist from The New Yorker and one from Politico. Now the huge headline on the bottom of the screen was, The Chaos Agenda of Congressman Matt Gaetz. The Politico fake news reporter said, a lot of the evangelicals wanted nothing to do with Donald Trump, a divorced real estate mogul who cheated on his wife with a porn star and all that, she said. However, it may come as a surprise to many of you that Donald Trump did not have an affair with STD Daniels. He only paid her off so he could shut her up right before the election. Donald Trump had no other choice. Democrats got a porn star to lie about him before an election. And you know what? She chose to shut up and take the money. I guarantee you that Donald Trump did not sleep with a gross porn star, then bring those diseases back to his super hot and loving wife. So now we're at 30 minutes into this fake news show, and they are still talking about Trump, MAGA, and Republicans. But now the huge headline at the bottom of the screen was, The Republican Mess. How Christian nationalism could shape a second Trump term. Then the next headline was, The Republican Mess. Inside the House, Republican Infighting. After talking to the two fake news Democrat activist journalists, Michael Steele went to his third 4.5-minute commercial break. I saw another Plan B commercial. When they came back, the RINOs and Democrats talked about IVF. Steele brought on a woman who used to work as a GOP communications director and is now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. She rolled her eyes a lot and called Republican Tommy Tuberville a moron. The huge headline on the bottom of the screen was, America in reverse. Republicans flail in wake of Alabama IVF ruling. I could care less what she said. All I know is that people in Alabama are very pro-life. They love babies and they love unborn babies and they want to protect them. But Alabama does not represent the nationwide GOP. So now we're at 45 minutes of this very fake news show, and they are still talking about Donald Trump, MAGA, and Republicans. And it's all negative. They are obviously trying to get their viewers to hate Donald Trump, Republicans, and MAGA, which they already do. So I don't understand why that's all they talk about. Michael Steele finally went to his final 4.5-minute commercial break. In this break, I saw 2 Plan B commercials. When Steele returned, he talked about Trump's new sneakers. Steele said, if you want to know what Trump campaign staffers think about you, just watch Fox News like this weekend when they gushed over Donald Trump's new ploy for money. MSNBC showed a photo of a gold Trump sneaker and played video of the Fox News host. And under the video was a headline that read, Fox News host under fire for racist remarks on Trump shoes. Then the headline changed to Fox News sickness. Fox host says Trump sneakers will earn black votes. Michael Steele, the fake Republican, tried to convince his viewers that this Fox News host and Fox News are racist because he said Black support is eroding from Joe Biden and that people in the inner city love sneakers. Then Steele said Trump's sneakers are ugly as hell. And when he said that, his voice changed to, they ugly as hell. Now the headline on the screen said, Fox News sickness. Fox host says Trump will earn black votes. Then Michael Steele brought on a white-looking man from Media Matters to talk about it. The Media Matters liberal Democrat said it is a false narrative that Donald Trump is capturing all sorts of people across the country and that it's not just limited to his MAGA supporter base. Then Michael Steele said he's going to name some racist things that Fox News has said off the top of his head. He said birtherism, Obama phones, migrant caravans stealing jobs. Then the Media Matters man said another racist narrative is that they are trying to replace the national anthem with the Black national anthem and the Great Replacement theory. Blah, blah, blah. After talking about how racist Fox News is for several minutes, they started talking about the recent news of Mike Lindell and how a judge said he has to pay out $5 million. Yeah, we'll see that when it happens. Democrats did cheat huge in 2020. They cheated again in 2022, and they will cheat huge again in 2024. But the media will deny and lie about Democrats cheating because they are nothing more than Democrat propagandists. Michael Steele, the RINO, talked negative about Donald Trump, Republicans, MAGA Patriots, and conservative Republicans for the entire 1-hour-long show. Michael Steele called Donald Trump the ultimate RINO, but Michael Steele is the ultimate RINO who gets paid to talk like this on MSNBC. Do not let Michael Steele and the fake news Democrats and RINOs get away with the fake narrative that Donald Trump is a RINO, because they are lying and cheating Democrats and RINOs who get paid to repeat Democrat and deep state propaganda and lies. I can't believe anyone watches MSNBC and thinks this is news.